And it's one of the reasons why we love CRL, and especially because we love Vitor and Adriel. Adriel on the other side of it, he was classic Adriel, man. He was just like ice through his veins, quick 2-0 over baton. Just a really, really clean set from him. So I'm really, really, really excited to see our next 2 matches, just because these are the guys that we saw the least of yesterday, and they all came out and did exactly what they were supposed to, which is get that first round bye and then win pretty dominantly.
Vítor, yesterday we saw him with some minor control, some hog EQ, and then a little bit of bridge spam, and just continuing to dig into the deck pool, opening up drill on day number 2. And Cannon sets up high, takes care of the princess at the bridge. And just a little slowdown.
A lot of great responses for that drill.
Spears should get a little bit of chip, and they do. So first blood drawn, 28-64 on the right-hand side. Evo Cannon, though, will have some targets in a lot of these squishy troops on the board.
Like already that we're seeing Vitor kind of go and not be too shy about where he wants to play his log, and using that log to take care of Dark Goblins, using that log to take care of princesses, knowing that he's probably got other ways that he needs to figure out how to exactly deal with the regular barrel. Obviously Evo barrel he's going to probably want to have log and cycle for, but that's one of the ways that you have to end up finding your way beating bait is, you have to figure out a creative way to take care of the barrels that you can, and then end up using the logs to clean up those big pushes that come across the bridge, like Valkyrie plus Goblin Gang, or when you start to see princesses and Dark Goblins lined up in a place that you can't reach. You've got to learn to use those logs to take those out, and then play something else defensively for the gang, or excuse me, for the barrel.
I think that one of the most underrated elements of the evolutions are the aesthetics, and Evo Dark Goblins fancy, and there we go, a little clear on the board. Evo Dark Goblin's fancy headdress is pretty rad.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, this sequence by Vitor really, really nice here. Ends up getting some good Evo bat damage on the left-hand side, gets a lot of pressure in. He's able to clean up his opponent's, threats on the board while defending pretty cleanly. That Evo cannon was absolutely beautiful. I think it shocked Adriel there, cleaning up everything coming across the bridge and taking out his Dark Goblins. So Vitor did a great job there capitalizing with an Evo.
Well, that's the one thing, I mentioned that earlier about the Evo cannon, is it has a lot of things that are squishy out here for when it does drop. And Vitor, I'll see if the question now is, does Adriel make adjustments to not give as much value when it drops? How well is he watching the cycle of when it's in? And that's a lot of value for that log. Dark Goblin and Princess both taken care of in the middle of the board.
Yeah, and if you're Adriel and you're giving that log value, you've got to turn around and punish, and here we go, doing a little bit of a better job. He gets all the goblins in the front because he's recognizing that Vitor's playing the spears off to the side to try to just take one goblin's worth of damage, and then use the spears as actually a positive trade with a little bit of tower damage taken, and then the ability to keep his log in cycle for these Dark Goblin Princess pileups.
Minute 20 remaining. Board clear again. Drill into the right-hand side, a little bit of pressure on the left, and I like this play because he isn't a force out, at least some response, gets the chip on the left-hand side, opens the lead on the right-hand side. Vitor doing well. What does Adriel do here to get this one back?
I mean, it's one of those things where he's got to use this triple elixir. He's got to start using the princesses and the Dark Goblins to punish, and you've got to see more of what we're seeing right there, which is Valkyries plus gang plus barrels. When you're in triple elixir with this deck, you've got to be absolutely sending it non-stop, relentless. You've got to use that prior 4 minutes of figuring out how your opponent likes to defend, what their kind of tendencies are defense-wise for your bait deck, and then you've just got to punish. And as we can see right now, Vitor is... I mean, that's the other thing with these bait decks, is they don't have a great way of getting direct damage on tower. It's all about overwhelming and capitalizing off of opponent mistakes, and because these decks have been so popular, it looks like Vitor's in a pretty good spot.
Princess is starting to stack. A Dark Goblin on the board. 2089 on the left-hand side, so Vitor knows exactly where it's all coming.
Yep. Adriel knows it. I mean, Vítor did just such a good job of never overextending. That's the other thing, is just you never have to overextend. You know your opponent can only get damage on tower from princesses at the bridge or you missing barrels, or obviously if they just break through.
Advantage of the cycle as things got in late, but a lot open to him as we go into game number 2.
Yeah, it's interesting because on ladder, a lot of times you'll see the deck that we just saw, or versions of the deck that we just saw, kind of run with Boss Bandit. But as time has gone on, we're seeing more Valkyrie in there, again, because of how popular Drill is. So you understand maybe why there's no champion in that deck, and it's already a pretty fast cycle deck. But obviously, the faster the cycle, the more barrels you can get out, the more you can throw your opponent off guard. So Vítor looking like he's going to go to his version of minor wall breakers. So his version of fast and loose, if you will.
Let's steal the show.
And the boss sets up in the back, ready to knock some heads. And in both directions, so get ready to see some strange interactions.
Yeah, I mean, the Boss Bandit, it's I think one of the best things they did about the card was just not being forgiving about using the ability. That card would be way too strong if you got refunded that 1 elixir when the card died or doesn't actually get the dash. You know, like Skeleton King, whereas if you use the ability and it doesn't actually go off, you end up getting most of the time that 2 elixir back. The Boss Bandit, it's important that you do not.
Halfway through the opening chunk of this game, Vítor with a game in hand, and Adriel finally sends the drill to the right-hand side.
Yeah, and this is a really, I was just going to say, depending on what card we have in those last 2 spots, Vítor's actually in a pretty good spot defensively here when you talk about taking care of the drill and the Evo Snowball. The ability to get the bar barrel out early to clean up that very first goblin, bait out the Evo Snowball, or make your opponent hold on the Evo Snowball. It becomes this fun game of, okay, you play the drill, I'm going to bar barrel early this time, and you're not going to want to Evo Snowball till late. And then the next time, they go guards early while the opponent's holding the Evo Snowball, and then they play the bar barrel late. So Vítor finding himself with great responses to the drill, and that's because the drill's been so popular.
And after all that, 1 wall breaker does connect, so a lot of effort spent on knocking it back and trying to clear the board. Damage done, and Vítor's opened up a pretty good lead here, about 500 HP from the top left to the bottom right. 501 if you want to be precise about it.
Maths.
What is that? And Vítor just slowing things down a little bit, making sure he got the timing just right.
Vítor has just really found himself in just like an excellent matchup here. He's got the guards to deal with the Boss Bandit, he's got the guards to deal with the drill, he's got the Dart Goblin to be all over the board and not have an easy way to get to it other than, you know, trying to get a bar barrel on it or trying to poison. So the Dart Goblin is a nuisance. You've got all these ways to take care of the drill.
Oh.
You've got that Goblin Hut you can get on the board. King Tower activation comes in for Adriel here.
You know, you think about the King Tower activation and Vítor, maybe, I was going to say, like, hey, Vítor's putting that, maybe he was trying to put the miner right next to the Tesla because that was the least likely place to go, so a pickup move wasn't going to happen there, but he opened it up for that King Tower activation, and that's gonna save some shots as time goes on. Now miners can be ignored a little bit.
Vítor just getting a little out of sequence on that defense. You saw him kind of play a late Boss Bandit to get on top of the drill, and then he missed the timing on the bar barrel, and just all a little bit off sequence. And that's what we started to see yesterday, you know, as this final minute, as we're deeper in double and getting into triple elixir, the ability to keep the drills on the board when you have a champion in play and just get a non-stop drill barrage coming in, it really starts to make your opponents make a lot of mistakes. And that is something that Vítor needs to make sure does not happen, holding on to that lead right now.
And Boss Bandit picked up value on the right-hand side as the Goblin Hut going to get poisoned off. Guards almost all the way gone. 14:09 to 18:39. 30 seconds left. Snowball trying to make a little bit of room. Nothing's there to capitalize on that.
Dark Goblin. Evo Dark Goblin here should do a good job cleaning up the other lane. Yeah, I mean, it's just like Vitor's kind of panicking on his defenses, but he's okay because he's had so many responses to deal with it. He's done a good job of getting damage in, and he should be able to just walk away with this one as the time ticks to 0. Bar Barrel comes in. There we go. Vitor takes his clean 2-0. It was almost like Vitor had too many responses for the drill that he was like, which one do I play here? Where are we at in the cycle? I forget. Is his Evo in or is it not? But he ends up staying on top, getting a nice 2-0 there over Adriel.